Google's live. Here we are. It is the BetaSaaSers meeting. It is Sam and Richard and Michael at this stage. Richard is driving, and obviously we're not going to distract him from that activity. Michael and I thought we've been having an interesting discussion about what we might do with pairing and analyzing data from pairing in the next run of the MOOC. Michael initially talking about improving the telemetry, which I think is a good thing to do. We're also talking about A/B testing versus just trying something out, and sort of working out what are the things to try in this next run, independently of whether we make the pairing required or not. I was posing the question: does it make sense to have scheduled pairing slots at, I was saying 2-hour intervals, Mike was suggesting an hour, and that would increase the likelihood that people actually got together. I think we were having quite an interesting discussion about that. We were moving on to about, I think having bashed it around, it's making it seem like perhaps that's a sensible thing to test. Michael was pointing out that there's a potential pain point there of people, 6 people get together, 2 people dominate the thing, do noisy pairing together. The other people don't necessarily realize they could set up their own session, and we maybe lose that pairing activity. Although we could sort of see whether that, we could that's something we could measure whether that happens or not. And then we were moving on to talking about how, Marta's got proposals for, like, should we have things like the pairing activities be only part of the premium MOOC activity, and I was saying how that was sort of counter to the methodology of Agile Ventures, and Michael was pointing out how for Coursera they trying to make money out of the courses, and actually the people who are not paying do also contribute, and some courses by putting the sort of squeeze on them and excluding the non-paying people from certain aspects of the courses has reduced the kind of quality of the course overall, including to some of the paying people. I think at least as far as pairing goes, it's the picture is probably more complicated. This is what I was going to. I've done this summary partly, so I can say this last little thing to you, Michael. Is that I think that there's a danger of the people who are not very committed to pairing and who kind of come in and then sort of drop out after 5 minutes or what have you. They also degrade the experience, and I think that there's if I don't know so much about them, but these the network and online gaming and the League of Legends. I mean, when I was getting together with my HPU students to play League of Legends, and I say, oh, can I just come in there? They say, no, this is a commitment. You've got to set aside the next 40 minutes to play this League of Legends game, and so on. So there's something to be said for saying, well, let's have the pairing take place amongst those people who are really committed to it, but maybe the better route to go is like make pairing available to all and just make it so attractive and so exciting that everybody wants to join in, if that can be done. I mean, that providing scaffolding, not necessarily for pairing people with people who are suitable for them, but at least making like the things we could do in the Hangout, like things that would pop up after 15 minutes, and they would say, like, if there are greater than 3 people in the Hangout, it would pop up after 15 minutes and say, hey, you could. It's easy to create a new Hangout for pairing if you want to pair with somebody else. Click this link to do so, and so on. Anyway, did that make any sense, Michael?
Yeah.
Cool. I don't know if it made any sense to Richard or not, but that's what we were talking about before you arrived.
Well, right, and I have my own issue. Is like I think pairing can be great. It's great to introduce people to it, but I'm not sure how much time and energy I want to spend sort of trying to enforce it, coming up with mechanisms to evaluate it, trying to put it part of the grade, because it just seems like it's a lot of time and effort, and it's not clear the value. There's a few people that it may push over the edge, but if I, to get it and enjoy it. But if I make it as an opportunity and encourage it and like let the people who do it, and the people who don't, and I can save like a whole bunch of time if I don't, it's tough.
Yeah.
And there are some people, I'm doing a pairing thing in my other course, in my math course, and having people sort of work together in pairs and think about problems and so forth. I just started doing. And there's like one girl that has some issues, and
Right,
I have
right.
the partner. He wrote me like this long, heartfelt email. He's like really trying, but
Sure.
the girl is not engaged. She has a disability form for other issues with me, and
Right.
he's like, just like next time I got to come early and find a different seat.
Right, right,
And
right,
so
right.
it doesn't work for everyone, and then when we try and force it and mandate it, it's problematic.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. I totally hear that. I mean, that's really interesting. In particular because of experience that I've had at HPU and at the MOOC and in the boot camp, and it's yes, I mean the potentially the pairing means that you can actually massively reduce the instructor workload because the students are asking each other questions instead of putting pressure on the TAs, on the instructor, and so on. But that said, for all of that reduction in overheads, if there are a small number of individuals who find the pairing experience so unpleasant or so difficult or so challenging that it actually there's this huge spike in work of like emotionally supporting those people or this, that, and the other, then it maybe doesn't add up. And like you're saying, and then there's a difference between saying, well, if you want to pair it, pair it. If you don't want to pair it, don't do it. Although ultimately, at the boot camp, we found that once we mandated pairing and we had a randomized algorithm for assigning those people so they were with different people each time, suddenly everything calmed down, right? The real trouble was when we were, having people had to pair with the same person again and again, and
Right.
when people who felt that they had to kind of make requests to each other to say, "Would you pair with me?" But once we took that sort of emotion, it sort of drew the sting for it, and then said, basically, "Oh, here's my rota. I'm pairing with this person today. I spend the day, it goes well, but tomorrow I'm pairing with a different person." So anyway, that was our experience at the boot camp.
Right, and it's interesting. I sort of lucked out in a way because I did that random assignment that I changed on every
Mm-hmm.
random pairing assignment that I changed on every homework assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so people either paired for one session or maybe for a couple of weeks and then they were switched.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to walk a line because I want to. I also do want to let some people work together that know each other and like working together. And so the flip side of it, when someone finds a good pair, it's like, what, why can't I work together with that person again? We did so well together.
Yeah, no, we've had exactly the same as that at the boot camp, but then also sometimes that it goes, they think it's going really well, and then it goes south. I mean, the big thing that we pitch is that yeah, you love that person, but there's so much more to learn if you switch with all of these different people because there's so many different
Right.
perspectives.
You meet some other people. Yeah, and I'm good with that. I mean, I'm okay. I mean, it's just the students I just explained, like that's part of it. You win some, you lose some, and that's
Well,
life.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, and it all
But
comes down, and it must all
the
come
issue,
down and go on.
yeah, the issue with the agile with either MOOC and the agile ventures, you have motivated people. So if you sort of give them a carrot and say, look, at least try this,
Mm.
see if it works for you. I would expect a high percentage of those people would at least give it a go. And my issue with the students is I have to put a stick in front of people in order to get them to try things, but I just don't know whether it's worth it. I just don't
No,
know
no.
whether
Well,
it's worth
absolutely.
it.
That's it all comes down to the there's some savings somewhere and there's some losses in other places. I mean, with the Makers Academy, we have lots of motivated people. With the MOOC and with AV, it's a very mixed bag. And so there's kind of that was the thing. The last one of the MOOC, we kind of put a stick. We made it kind of required for the first time, and that provoked extreme reactions in both directions. Anyway, we should what we should do is check to see if we've got any. Oh, go on.
Any new thing. Just the last thing on that is, and then the other thing is that peer learning, that peer review of the videos is like
Yeah.
another thing that I was excited about this summer, and now I'm just not sure if I want to.
Well, yeah, no, that's another level of thing which has potential benefits, but then there are overheads, and yeah, it's complicated.
Okay, done.
But so anyway, so what I've done, for better or for worse, is this week is say, hey, let's use GitHub issues to try and manage our agenda items. So now, Richard, you obviously are not looking at this because you're driving the car. So I will be doing your audio of this. But so kind of, I took.
Yeah, I'm excited that you did that, and I really wanted to look. And I was really expecting to be home much
Oh, hey,
earlier
but
than this, but
yeah,
I'm
no
looking
apologies
at
necessary.
after.
Yeah, no apologies necessary. And there was no need, particularly, for you to look at them beforehand. I mean, the key thing from my point of view was just to kind of get them in there. I reviewed them earlier today, and I put a few things in. What I was going to ask you right now is, I can be your audio typing system. Are there issues that you would like to add to the agenda? And I will open them as new issues in the GitHub repo to record your issues.
Offhand, I think it's mostly my old issues about
Yes.
understanding about what happened with the AutoGrader,
Hmm.
figuring out where we stand with the Ruby calisthenics,
Yes.
and the other thing that's a little bit interesting, I don't think I've brought up before,
Hmm.
is do we have some kind of listing of which videos are new versus which are recycled, and does that even make sense? What I'm asking.
Yes, it does make sense. Give me a second. I'm just adding your question about the autograder um, to the list here. Um, and so the question you're asking there is, um, do we know which videos have been updated, and for like whether it's for RSpec or what have you? And so I'll just add that there. Rilson would like to know which are old and which are new videos. And so the answer is there is not a immediate list that I can point you to. I know approximately which videos are old and new, and that the general answer to that is that there's basically like the week on RSpec in the first part of this MOOC is largely changed. But other than that, not very much. I mean, it's the week on RSpec, and there's like a little early introduction to TDD that mentions RSpec. So it's basically the videos that have been updated are the ones that had RSpec code with the old syntax. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so that's right. And so let me just rephrase it. I have a question. I have just all new
So Richard,
these are a lot of the
your
same
audio
as the original.
your
And
audio
so are you? Yeah. Okay,
your
I know there's
your audio is breaking up, and I'm trying to turn your video off, but I don't seem to be able to do so.
that is I can um, that's one spot I know. One spot I just passed through.
Oh, you passed through. You knew it was a low signal pass through. All right, and your
Yeah,
video
yeah.
is up. Yes. So say the
It,
same. Ask the same question again.
anything? Okay. So when I looked to the original sort of first chapter videos, they looked basically the same.
Yes.
And so then I'm just wondering, is like it sounds like there are more videos the same that are changed. Is that possibly true? And
Yes,
I
I
can look
think
at
that
this.
is true.
Okay. That right. That's just a different impression. That actually helps me a little bit because I had some materials key to the old videos, and I thought I was going to have a sort of a large task looking at all the new videos and figuring out
Hmm. Hmm.
what things I had to update. And it sounds like that would be a smaller task than I
Yes.
expected. Yeah. Good. All good.
Okay.
So that's my new agenda item.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's in there, and I put the short answer in there, and yes. But so that's there. We can potentially generate a list for that. Okay.
Yeah, not critical. And if I, maybe I'll take notes and be able to do something like that
Yeah.
as we go through the semester.
We'll see. Well, so what we might just do then is, particularly since you're the only instructor that turned up today, Stacy sent her apologies. We can just go to this one you asked about, understanding the autograder failure that took place this week. So I think you were CC'd on some emails. Basically, one of the Berkeley TAs brought to my attention that the Berkeley Spock grader was not working. I checked that out. It was not just the Berkeley one, basically across the board. None of our SPOCs or MOOCs were able to get a sensible response from the edX queues. What was visible was the grader, and all the graders were unable to get a sensible response from the edX queues. I contacted edX, going through their usual multi-layered support system, and what I heard was that they had rolled something out that they didn't think would have broken what it broke, but when they rolled it back, it was fixed, and as I understand it, the graders are now working again. So
Yeah.
and I did my usual. Well, hey, if you allowed me to talk to the developers directly, I could really help you with these kind of things, and they strangely didn't respond to my comment. But I guess they're just afraid that I guess they're just afraid that if I come in and like show them how to fix it all, they'll have to like basically fire all the developers and employ me instead. So I guess it's a reasonable defensive position to be in.
I mean, you'd expect that at so many places, but not at this edX MIT Harvard spinoff, right? You're like above all the bureaucracy.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand there's this extent to which they are supporting many other courses besides ours, and they don't want the developers inundated with communication from like random users. I mean, I just got an email from edX saying, would I like to take part in a new round of usability things or what have you. They're very keen to have that layer, and it just feels very distinct from the agile thing, which of course is what the course that we're teaching is all about, a much tighter connection between the developers and the customers. But yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's just so ironic. High horse that I got on last week was about how it'd be nice if there was less dependency among the textbook and the underlying technology. Right. And that's like one of these great design principles, and it's like just all these things are not.
No, indeed.
They're violated in the instructors in the course, and maybe it's as it should be. It shows it really is a good example of the problems that accrue when they are not adhered to, when these principles are not.
Well, absolutely, yes. Case in point, and I think interestingly, it also points to how difficult it is to kind of stick to these. I mean, say one, it's the problems that occur when you don't stick to the principles. It also shows how difficult it is to stick to the principles in the first place.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting, and so it's very easy to look and see and criticize. And it's like a whole other thing when you're in it and you got to do it yourself. That was actually one of my issues with the academic world, and in particular, as my professor, was great at being a consultant to high-powered corporations, but he could not like manage his own day and schedule for himself.
Indeed.
Yeah. Now I am back home.
Okay. Did you want to switch to your computer where you can see the screen?
See what happens. I'll let you know. So I'll just fumble for a bit, and I'll yell if I need help with.
Okay.
I can't working myself. Continue.
I will continue. Is there more information you'd like about the AutoGrader failure that we had this week, or shall I close the issue?
No, it's just. I mean, from my side, I was just like curious to see what it, if there was any more behind the scenes stuff. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I try. I mean, I'm a big fan of transparency. I mean, I think people probably get irritated with how frequently I CC stuff. I'm kind of, it maybe makes me appear very unprofessional. I don't know, but yeah, I'm kind of like pretty much all of the communication. I mean, the Berkeley TA who contacted me about it originally, I brought him into the AutoGraders channel, and we had the discussion about it there. And then I was emailing our contacts at edX. Partly there's a lot of other things in that email, so I didn't that were unrelated, so I didn't CC that. But then she looped in the support people, and then I CC'd on the thing. So yeah, all of the details are there. I mean, the thing that I've asked edX before is I would love to know, like, I mean, I've been told before that they, often roll out changes on a Thursday, or, I think that I mean, I did not watch that video yet on their roadmap of changes, which I probably should do, and I probably can't complain about any lack of communication until I've done that. But I don't know. It would be nice if there was kind of like they would be saying, right, well, there's this change, and we're planning to, like, if I could just sort of be part of that loop, whereby I would know that there was a change coming up, and it would be already deployed on some, and I could run our graders against their staging servers just to check that it still works, rather than the break to actually happen in production. But yeah, I mean, I've mentioned that to them before, and yeah, I mean, Armando has this weekly meeting with the kind of like top level tech direction team at edX, and he says that his big push has been for them to say, look, we really got to move edX to be in this world of APIs that Armando promotes at the start of the course. Although, ironically, as we talked about, that we build in the course, we build a Rails monolith. We don't build a set of microservices that are advocated as what we should be building at the beginning. But again, but yeah. So anyway, Armando's doing like a show at the moment, as well as everything else that he's doing and running a company and a course and so on. So he's like just totally through the roof in terms of, I mean, his available free time is like in negative infinity territory. So anyway, the other item that you mentioned was where we are with.
And you mentioned, well, I don't know if we're getting back to Armando, but Armando sent an interesting email.
Oh yeah, saw that. Yeah, about the classroom. Yeah.
Right, and that's something that particularly interests me. But I don't know if there's anything news, but it jumped into my mind. I want to try and look at some of the materials and activities that he has.
Yeah, I did just myself open that folder, and for some reason, none of the files are. Well, I think I was just clicking it in the wrong way, and then I started pairing with Michael. I'm into this.
Okay.
But
okay.
But yeah, okay. Well, let's hit the. I mean, I've got some updates for you on the Ruby calisthenics issue. I mean, you can see here there. What as I say, I got it working with the old setup. What I also found, although I mentioned to you last week, I had a problem. Like I was trying to like add the calisthenics like kind of from scratch with a acceptance test in the new AutoGrader, and I was getting stuck there with some general issue that's affecting my test suite. The idea that I had after talking to you in last week's meeting was that what we could do is, I could take a slightly more ad hoc approach, and just kind of point the new AutoGrader at a version of those specs, and it actually works in kind of live. So I'm just going to show that to you here.
Okay.
So this is your Spock.
Got it.
And this is here. So this I showed you last week. So I set it up with the old grader version, and that I fixed that, and that's still working. This is now the new grader version. So what I've got here is I'm pointing at a GitHub repo that contains the spec for the Ruby calisthenics in this AutoGrader directory. It's actually got all of them in there. And these were, I mean, I copied from where I found them or what have you. This is all the new grader, and I found that I'd have to go to the live instance here. This is hidden from your students, of course, even though the section's not even live. But anyway, so old grader version, new grader version, and yeah, I mean, this was. You can see the results here. Basically, if I submit a file from that, I can go and. Is that even the right directory? No, on documents, GitHub. I've got, if I go to Sourcebook, and if I go to the Ruby Calisthenics CI, I've got this, I take one of the solutions, let's say,
right,
and I can run the check thing there. Basically, the Ruby Calisthenics is, it's using a very simple grader format. It's just some pure Ruby specs, and
Yeah.
there you go. So it's run here, and it said basically, yeah, it's 12 out of 412. This thing by itself is, it's testing all four of the things in one go. So there's like, given that this seems to work, and that we don't care too much about writing extensive cucumber tests for the RAG grader, which also exposes solutions and blah, 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 whatever. In principle, if you wanted a calisthenics thing in your MOOC, it's actually just content work that needs to be done. I mean, we need to get the right, like, so if I get here, is this actually, yeah, I think I found, and I've got a link to it in the, here, have I got a link? I found in, I have to go and find it again. I found in one of the old MOOCs, like the original version of the Ruby Calisthenics, and that's got like the problem descriptions. And so, those could be put into separate GitHub repos and linked up, and yeah, but basically with some content work. I mean, it would take about an hour for someone who knew what they were doing.
Okay.
It could be put all in there, and it could be used with the new grader.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. I might be interested in it as in 2 weeks from now. So what I can try doing is looking into that over the next week.
Yeah.
And seeing what's involved, looking at all the pieces. But that is good. And so just tell me again, we have control over the specs. In other words, what I heard you say is they're just pointing to a repo,
right,
in GitHub, and that if we modify that sort of on the fly, then the AutoGrader will pick that up right away. And
the caveat is that I think that it takes a day for it to change over. This is one of the features, I'm doing air quotes there, that we've been like, it basically, it caches the spec on the server, so it and then I think it there's some sort of timeout thing, so it doesn't update immediately, but we can with updates to those specs, I can force it to be updated, or it will update within a day. Or
okay, so like if I were without like admin privileges, if I were to make the change, I would make a change and cross my fingers.
Yeah,
the next day
you'd make a change with the caveat that that your students wouldn't get it immediately, but they should get it within 24 hours.
So it makes trying things out a little dicey, I guess.
Indeed.
But that's why you wanted the admin privileges for that kind of thing.
Well, this is the thing though, is I kind of it's a performance optimization that I don't think that we necessarily need. And this is the thing, I made the point to the previous TA who'd added that, and this makes it difficult for doing the development. But of course, anyway, yes. So I mean, but that's the kind of thing that could be changed in terms of the grader. I mean, I'm kind of frustrated in some ways that this ends up being so easily, because I was almost wanting to use the need for the calisthenics to be an excuse to try out the pull request model, which I talked about presenting this week, but I haven't done. I guess I'm gonna add that as an issue here, pull request model for AutoGrader. Sam has idea for a PR-based AutoGrader that he should demo. But yeah, so what we would, in order to get the granularity that we want. Oh, by the way, I also managed to find the old Cartesian product description, although I can't find the specs that were associated with the Cartesian product. Like the Ruby Calisthenics here, there's like a version of Ruby Calisthenics that has like 4 specs, versus the original 7. And so I found the MOOC that describes all 7, from which I was able to pluck the Cartesian product description. However, I have as yet not been able to find the specs for the Cartesian product.
Okay, so those things are either, okay, someone did some cleanup it sounds like, and
Right.
or maybe we didn't have access, whatever. Okay, that's surprising, but understandable. Okay.
But
You know, one
oh,
thing
go on.
that I'm wondering is I'm looking for this alt, exactly, alt Ruby calisthenics in SAS, but and this is private.
It's private. What we could do is we could make it
And when you say
public.
but private, like, do I have access to it?
Well, potentially, I may
Okay, but
just
not actually.
in my test. Well, I added it to one team. I may not have added it to your.
Right.
This was my.
I'm just looking at it and I can't find it, and I figured I might as well
Yeah.
say that while
Well,
you're
yeah.
here.
Let me put what I now in order for the AutoGrader to be able to access, I have to add it to CS169 dev, but I probably didn't immediately add it to.
Cool, that's fine.
But I can add that to you to there now so that you can see it. Okay, so it should now be visible for you.
Okay. I wonder if.
So that's kind of a placeholder repo. I mean, but
Oh,
so
perfect.
the but
You
so
know, the interesting thing is that would allow someone to make um, um, some even minor changes to the specs
yep.
and change where their own Spock points and do this
Yes.
without affecting other people. I mean, I'm probably restating the obvious, but it's just,
No,
seeing it as.
Yeah, no, but that in fact is the great new functionality that we did get as a
Yeah.
result of the refactoring is
Yeah.
and that would immediately, if you change the repo that this points to in your Spock, it will go there straight away and it will load the new specs and it'll use those specs. So if
Oh,
you
is that a way to, and that would be a way to force.
that would be a way to force an immediate upgrade, I
Right.
believe.
I mean, even if I changed it to something and then changed it back, even if I needed to do something silly like that.
Yeah, like
Okay.
I mean, once you forked it, like you could have this become this, right?
Yeah.
See what I'm doing
Yeah.
there? And the first time that caching would still take place, but you could like rename the repo to force it to refresh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool.
So, this is potentially extraordinarily powerful, and it's just it's sort of partly the lack of documentation associated with it, just everybody getting their heads around everything. It is potentially very powerful for the instructor who would feel confident to fork and make adjustments to a separate repo and so on. I mean, and I think that what I would imagine the thing to do here is, I mean, for something like Janet was saying, like if like for that Cartesian product thing that you like, rather than slamming it into Ruby Calisthenics, this Cartesian products could go in its own repo, right? And it would have the spec. I mean, you'd still, to the extent that you wanted to keep the solutions secret from the students, you could have a pair of repos, Cartesian product CI and Cartesian product,
Right.
and Cartesian product would have the description of how to do it. It would have some whatever specs you wanted to share with the students, or whatever. Anyway, that would be the place to have the materials for the students. I mean, you may want to have the edX, and then the CI one, right, could have it would basically, in order for it to work, and annoyingly and sort of ridiculously, the specs have to be in a folder called AutoGrader,
Okay.
rather than in something called RSpec, which would just allow you to easily run the thing directly on the command line. Which wouldn't that be handy? But I mean, I could potentially fix the grader to adjust that. But so there, and I've got this logo on my updated AutoGrader here. In principle, so RSpec by itself there, it will. Okay, not have a. Yeah, I mean, can I just do RSpec? I think that's what I've got more. Have we got .rspec in there? Yeah, let's remove that. If I run RSpec here, yeah, it just won't find anything. But in principle, I can just do this, and then I can actually, yeah, I can run this from the command line. And here I actually am running it from the command line, and it's failing because the files don't exist. But so in this private repo, I could add the solutions, right? In principle, I could run the grader at least to see whether the tests pass or fail, and get the output there. And then so if you were making changes to this, to whatever for cast, you could then rerun it locally on your machine to see if the tweaks that you made to your recommended solution, to your spec, actually were consistent with the rest of the system.
Yep. That's good. This
Anyway.
could be this could be a classic video we're creating now to go back and review. This is good.
Yeah. So there's stuff to. I mean, what gets me excited is the idea of like breaking up. Instead of having these monolithic homeworks, is we have a microservices approach to the homeworks where there's basically a single repo with a very, very tightly focused problem, and then you have a constellation of those. And if we want to build it into a series of related problems that go in the course, then you have a separate little grader for each of those, and you can mix and match. And you say, I want to use this problem and this problem and this problem, and each instructor could choose the set of problems that they were particularly interested in having their students look at, and the one that they thought was not appropriate for this week they could remove.
Right, and this branching and tweaking has this other potential benefit of allowing us to do some maybe minor behind-the-scenes tweaking, so that students who just copy solutions wholesale will encounter some problems,
sure,
or some difficulties, or record some things. So this does have a lot of potential benefits. Cool.
So well, on that note, I'm just going to try and hit the other items in the agenda here. That, so I kind of review. I thought I did. Oh, I did. I had a pull request, which is why is that not appearing there? Huh. It says fixes. This is number. Okay. For some reason I've done it and it's not. It's not number 8. It's 59. Okay, there you go. That up probably. Yes. So this was an outstanding issue from a while ago. Is to get some. Rose has got some great materials in her Cloud9 instance. So like we can go there. I had to open another window anyway. But she's got like will that now take a long time to load? No, it's there because I had another one. This is Rose's Cloud9 instance where she has like this Ruby projects directory that may not take some time to load, and she's got like just raw Ruby files with lots of comments in them with like step by step working through like loads of stuff. So for example here, see like look at this. She's got this like exercise 1 Ruby calisthenics. Yeah, that's her. She's got those ones. But she's got like Elasticsearch. She's got like, lots and lots of bits and pieces that she does with her students, and she's got this connected graph one, which she pointed to us to before, where she has them kind of like writing a single line of Ruby, and then it shows the error that they're going to get, and then she's got little test comments of like, all right, this will fail because you've got no code, and then it shows you like write the next bit of code, and it walks them really step by step through kind of like, writing a little custom test for the code that you wish you had, and then making the thing. And we've talked before about how that would be great. And so I had a sort of outstanding action item to sort of get some of her great stuff into the Markdown format that I think will be like much more shareable and reusable and is much easier to read and so on. And so I just did a pull request here that's now linked to this. And if we look at the file change there and we click through on view, we can see this is what the Rose's same thing, but just with a relatively minor formatting change into Markdown, now has step 1. This is, generates this error, and also gets the Ruby colorization and so on.
Okay. And but those changes are all manually done.
They're manual. I mean, I could write so basically I gave up after step 5 because it's quite a long thing. I mean, my ulterior motive here is that I want to convert Rose to Markdown, because if we can, she's just it's anyway, ulterior motive is to Markdownify Rose. And then we have yes, there we go. I think it's funny. Like for me, I just find it so natural to write in Markdown, and we've had this discussion before, but the fact that GitHub formats it so nicely is anyway. So that was I'm hoping to markdownify you as well, but that's a different.
Yeah, and I have no problem with it. I have no problem with it, and it just well, once you start, I understand once you start using it, and you get you just like you'll be writing your emails and stuff.
Well, I write every day. I write a blog in Markdown, and anyway. So we've talked about Ruby Cloud Linux. There's kind of an action item there for anyway, people who there's old graders, new graders that don't exist yet. There's so many pathways there. It's exciting. C9 requiring a credit card. Following our discussion last week, Armando sent an email that didn't tell you anything that you didn't know, but I have added his email and your response in there, so we've got kind of a record of that. Nothing else to say there, I guess. Particularly, Armando has not come through with some magical additional level of something for us.
Yeah, and I did a lot of reading about it, and it seems like both sides they're trying to like come up with a sort of a good compromise, and the $10 a month is a great compromise, and it's just pushing it through a little school bureaucracy.
Right.
That'll be fine. That's short-term issue. It's just a surprise.
Yeah. So we'll leave that open because I think there more comments could be made on that. This was one Rose brought up, defense of Ruby on Rails versus Django, Python Node Express there. I, reviewing this earlier today, summarized some of the things we said about that last week. Go on, Richard.
Michael.
No, Michael, sorry. Go on, Michael.
I think basically Ruby on Rails has DHH, and wasn't Django basically some newspaper company or something? Like, who cares?
Well, let's yes, let's add that to the minutes. Says ROR has. Can we actually like? Is he DHH?
I think so. I would assume so.
And Django is just some newspaper company, so who cares? It's a private repo actually, so he couldn't see it. That's another thing to consider actually, is that so this is a private repo at the moment. We could like the minutes and so on. Should this repo or the issues be public? By moving to this format, people in the select BetaSaaSer, the old minutes were effectively public on AV. Was that a bug or feature? Mark. Let's go back into the issues.
I'm sure he probably obsessively reads every mention of himself on GitHub.
I would imagine that he could not live any other way. Moving on from that one, it's a particularly concerned. There were some things that we didn't get to that were on the agenda last week, which are about how can I submit an assignment on behalf of a student on edX. I was saying, should we go have docs for that? Basically, there is a screenshot which sort of summarizes how to do that. You're familiar with this functionality, right?
I mean, I've always seen it there. I think I used it before it was a drop-down where you could simulate, and the only thing, and I said this before, I was never crazy about it because when I looked at AutoGrader results, it was just the timestamps and everything was so confusing. I never knew whether I was looking at mine or the right students at the right time.
I think we're talking about slightly different things here, actually. Sorry to cut you off there, Richard.
Go on.
So there were two things. One is about submitting an assignment on behalf of a student, and the other one is being able to see the feedback from a particular student.
They are two different. Yeah, I understood, and so I thought they were more related than what you're saying.
No, I think there's two different interfaces to achieve them. So what you're describing sounds to me like this thing of being able to click the submission history and then
that was the old interface.
These both exist in parallel, and they do different things. But so we could talk about them in either order.
Yeah, just do it quickly. Yeah, I'm good. I'm listening.
But yes, so this is the way to see the submission history, and you remember this. So this still exists, and it still, as I think we would both agree, it's not particularly helpful. But yeah, so I added there at least, for people who might not know about that and some of the problems, like actually it's very confusing because it looks like the submission history is related to the thing underneath as opposed to the thing on the top. But anyway, for people like Stacy who've never used the system before, I mean, I guess ultimately, I mean, I sort of threw them into this issue so that I've just got a record of it, and then these could be migrated out into being help docs. But yeah, so that the this other thing here that I was showing to you first, this is that you can then view the entire course as a specific student, which is a slightly separate functionality, which you've also seen before. You've used this before?
You know, I can't say I've seen it, and I don't know how much I've really used it. I've sort of, but I'm aware of it, and I'm happy to hear anything that you have to say about it, because I really, you know, like I said, I haven't really used it much.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would say about it that I might just add here is what I find is that it says username or email, but my experience is that it only works with one or the other. I'll just, what is this? Is it? Let me just try sjoseph@hpu.edu. Okay, it used to be that only one or of either the username or email would work. They seem to both be working now. So
All good.
what I realized recently was, as well as viewing the course as that student, you can also then, if you go to the AutoGrader thing submission, you can submit as that student as well, and that's a useful functionality to know about.
Yes. And then and so I guess where I was tying it together is that this would also be perhaps even a better way to look at so if I go in as a specific student, will I or won't I see any of their history? Or is that unknown?
Well, you will also potentially see their history. If you go in as that's the advantage of it, but not review assignments. The potential advantage of this thing of seeing is that you can then go to their AutoGrader page, and you can see the AutoGrader output formatted the way they saw it.
Right, exactly. And this is why I was tying this functionality together a few minutes ago, because I saw it as like at least a different, perhaps better interface to that functionality, and also giving you more functionality. So, are there any downsides? Or is it just like this? Because it looks like very much like what I want to have.
If you view the course as that student, you will only see the last thing they submitted, whereas the other interface allows you to see their, you know, all the different submissions that they made. It will not actually what they submitted, but you can see the response from the AutoGrader to all those different things. But
which is a mixed blessing, because parsing that was my recollection is particularly confusing, and usually it's just the last thing that I'm interested in. Why isn't this working, or why am I getting this message? Okay, all good. I will, you know, put that up in my memory bank to look at that and use that the next time there's a reason to.
Yes,
I like that. And that's exactly the kind of, that's very similar to the kind of functionality I had in that original AutoGrader, you know, where basically we set it up and it was just like a couple of simple lines of code where I could come in and say, hey, let me see this exactly as such and such student. And the nice thing there is that we also, right above the AutoGrader output, we had the submission. So I could see both the person's code submission and the AutoGrader output from their point of view, and was able to do support in the, you know, just with a mouse click.
Absolutely. And so I guess there's the of course the thing that we don't do, none of this enables, is make student code visible to instructor.
There's a good lesson in all this.
Yeah,
it's much like adversity. I'll let you type.
Well, you can talk. I can type and you can talk.
Well, yeah, but I want to be listened to.
Hey, I'm a multitasker. The other thing I was going to be sort of saying there, if I wasn't typing, was that that's partly what my pull request. No, this is going to be a new issue 72. Is, I think this would address 72. Is that, we needed we like with lots of development work, we could shoehorn like making the code visible into the existing system, but it just seems like hiding to nothing when you could get that for free from a pull request model of the AutoGrader. Anyway, sorry, you were going to say something else. What were you going to say?
Yeah, well, it's just I just realized, how adversity is
Yes.
the mother of many inventions, and when I was so grumpy the first semester I was doing this, and like none of the AutoGrader support promised AutoGrader support was there, and I had to roll my own. That adversity, got us something good.
Well, I mean, I mean, you mentioned all of what's always frustrating for me is that you rolled your own and we failed to bring you into the fold so that you like, it was kind of forked and taken off in a way that we weren't able to roll it back in. And
Right.
if only we'd been able to work more
Right, and
effectively
that's
together in that
what I
first
expected.
year.
That guy Keith Lane, who was my student.
Right.
What happened is he became so successful as a result of the course and working on this that he quit school, got a job. He has 3 kids. He was an older student, and I tried. Can we pull this together? And the real thing, and it's legit. He basically had to tear it apart to get the RSpec assignment to work because that was sort of so different. It was really like doing a whole simulated environment. So
Yeah.
in getting the last homework to work, he broke everything
Well, that's
prior,
right. Yes, and
and it was not simple to just like roll it back. And I guess whatever version control or whatever, it was like a real hack thing. So we couldn't get the energy on it.
yeah. I
And
mean,
the problem is he didn't want to work on it anymore because he said, oh well, if he were going to spend that time, he would just like do it right.
yeah. Well,
So
that's the fundamental architecture of the thing was a mess, and then he also then put it up on Bitbucket rather than GitHub, and
yeah.
yeah. So yes, what we are where we are. So moving on then, yeah. So basically, the backlog of stuff is moved to GitHub issues. Maybe I'll close that next week after some more review of. I guess that's there must be there's more to move over. Yeah, there's a backlog of stuff from the previous week I haven't done. So other things, yeah, how to avoid me getting distracted by people paying me for closed source coding. This is an important issue, obviously for me. Yes, Reuven there, I think, is appreciating the sentiments. I just wanted to draw to people's attention that even if they can't take advantage themselves of the Agile Ventures Premium, we do have a new scholarship program where you can, buy what are they called, premium membership packages, and we'll make the mentorship support that we get through Agile Ventures Premium that you've bought available to underprivileged developers around the world. And so every Agile Ventures Premium donation through the membership plan thing increases the chances that I will be less tempted to go off and work for lots of money for.
Okay.
That was a very subtle plug.
Yeah, it's
It didn't seem that subtle to me.
I think Michael's being ironic. Yes, so I mean, it is a serious issue for me. I am actually basically for the last 7 months I've been living on my savings. We have now got like a handful of Agile Ventures Premium developers. It's not enough money to live on. It is covering our server costs for Agile Ventures. I'm really hoping. I love doing this, and I love how it connects with the MOOC and all the other things. I do get a very small amount of money from. I get some proceeds from the textbook, which is all wrapped up with me supporting the textbook and supporting this community. But again, that's all not enough to live on. So yeah, what I'm really trying to work out is how to take Agile Ventures to the next level, so that we can pay not only myself but other people like Michael and all the other people, all the other volunteers who put in lots of hours to make all the different parts of the system work.
Well, when I retire soon.
Yes. Well, you can join it. You could. Well, we would love to have you on the workforce. Yeah. Yeah. So just to go up, I think that these are all new new issues we've added here. We've talked about all of them individually. So I think we've covered the items in the agenda. I guess the action item is for me for this is I think there's a bigger list of older action items that I need to move in. It was this one here where you were doing some of them. You did the strike through. I should. I'll have to look through it. Okay. So yeah. So that's that. Do
Right.
you have any other?
And that's a violation. Is there more of the markdown thing, right? I knew
Well,
when I did,
not
in a
necessarily.
sense. I mean, is there a mark? Is there must be a mark? Is there markdown for?
Yeah, I think you could. There is a markdown for strike through. I mean, this is the fact that I'm using markdown here is kind of ridiculous because the
Right.
editor doesn't support markdown and it's just kind
Right.
of silly.
Right. So it's
Um,
like,
but yeah, don't worry about that. I mean,
no, I get it.
but I think just the fact that it was getting so long made me think we need to move to this. I guess what I might do is I might actually just copy over this list about so to remind me that these are things that should be thought about. Gosh, there's so many different random action items in there.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Armando did set me up for oh gosh, what is it like? He told me how to get people into the question bank system, and I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that may be of interest to me. I can't remember. I must be in there with my Google credentials probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? So anyway, I'm just wondering because like what I do with my what I if I'm in there and other people aren't, and it's hard, I can always share credentials if they're not
Yeah.
private ones.
Right.
Um, um, but I might want to get my TAs looking at some of that stuff, and so we can all peruse and come up with
Yeah, I do have I think I now have the power potentially, and I just it just all it requires is someone to like press on me and say yes, I really need access to
Okay.
the question bank, and I can sort people out while Armando
Okay.
does his important what's it called artistic stuff. Okay.
He's a music. It looked like on his web page, he's a musical director for. I knew he was involved with the theater, and I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure. I didn't realize that he was like actually, a build. Um,
Yeah,
going
in Edinburgh. He there was a grand piano at this party we were at, and he played it, and he was amazing. I mean,
Wow, that's cool. Yeah.
not that I know anything about music, but I was very impressed.
Yeah, there was a little typo on his web page that I didn't know if he might show up. I started to email, and then it seemed like a little annoying, so I figured I could tell him in person, but maybe I'll email him.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I think
I'm good.
yeah, good to see you, Richard. Same time next week, I guess.
No, who knows?
Who
I
knows?
will be in Asheville, which is a few hours away, in a tennis tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm playing at 8 o'clock in the morning, so you may get me post match. I'll make a little note about that.
Yeah.
I may. I just realized. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one minor thing to note. So we had a meeting with Armando about Project Scope this week. I think he's finding 7 a.m. particularly difficult. I mean, I guess we could be moving this meeting an hour or two later, and I think if we did so, we'd increase the chances of getting Armando at it.
Okay.
I mean, from your point of view,
Yeah, that's fine.
with an hour or 2 hours later, you not worried either way.
Yeah, it's all good. And in fact, it comes in the spring. My teaching schedule is going to have me busy on Friday until 12:30. So this time, this 10 o'clock time, will be a problem come the spring.
Okay.
But moving it this semester a little bit is fine, and next week in particular could be. I don't know why I couldn't join directly. Because I had done that before, but I'll do the same thing if I don't know what you did. You just must have called me and I answered, and that was fine.
I went through there's an invite functionality within the Google
Right.
Hangout itself.
When I clicked the links, I tried a lot of different ways, and it would open up Hangouts, but not the Hangouts app, but not this particular one.
Indeed.
And so I may be in exactly the same position next week.
We'll see, and I'm sure we'll be able to sort you out in the same way. What's Stacy's? Do we know Stacy's GitHub?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I should be able to find it very. Yeah, Watson SL. That's okay. Cool. All right.
You found it? Good. Okay, I want us off on a different screen. Good.
No worries. All right. Well, I think we had a viewer as well. Greetings, viewer. It'd be great if I could click on the viewer and know where they are in the world. Yeah. Well, that was the BetaSaaSers meeting this week, and yeah, have great fun with the tennis tournament. Have a good weekend, Richard, and we'll see you again real soon.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. It's good talking.
Bye for now. Okay. Right. So I stop the broadcast.